Welcome to the show, where we discuss the first of Marvel's Netflix miniseries and discern the truth about why this show stands above the rest. The elements of quality storytelling that other shows are blind to. But not this show. So join us as we start discerning Daredevil. Yeah! How'd I do, BlueDragonFive? Grade me.
B.
B? Alright, I'll take it. Okay, so welcome everyone to the long in the making Daredevil recap series here on this So You Want to Be an Imagineer YouTube channel. We've done Agent Carter, we've done a whole bunch of Marvel stuff, we did speculation videos about all these Netflix series and the Defender stuff that's coming, so I think it's appropriate that we tackle this, but, you know, as BlueDragonFive knows, it took me a while to actually get through this thing, so, yeah. How was that, BlueDragonFive, waiting for me?
Oh, it felt like forever. But just in general for this series, just kind of preface it. The reason it's called Discerning Daredevil is because, you know, it's such a great show, such critical acclaim, was a huge, massive success. It's definitely worth talking about. And the reason it's discerning is because, you know, I want to kind of highlight the elements of, so we're not going to go as in-depth as we might usually, because we're just going to focus on, because everyone's talked to that until they're blue in the face. We're just going to focus on the elements of why this show has kind of, what this show got right, you know, how discerning it from whether the shows might falter and why it kind of stands above the rest, you know, what other shows are blind to, as the opening is kind of justly said, I think.
Indeed. And to be honest with you, I think, you know, this is probably going to be the biggest challenge in terms of, I don't necessarily think this first episode is the strongest. I think it definitely kind of finds its footing in episode 2, and then, of course, episode 3 introduces Fisk and the painting and the symbol of the painting, which is so awesome that we're going to get into when we get to that. But so for here, we're going to talk about Into the Ring, which, you know, it's a good episode. It's a solid lead-in. But I will say there was some pilotitis stuff about this episode that made me kind of hesitant to. I knew I was going to watch it because everyone said it was so good, but I wasn't in any rush to watch it after I watched the first episode, if you can understand that.
I can understand it, but I'll allow it.
You can. Okay.
I mean,
I don't know. Specifically,
I
have specifically some issues with the way they handle Karen Page in this first episode. I just think that plot line's a little rushed. And it definitely is like a pilot, like, oh, we need to establish this kind of crazy situation, and then we need to wrap it up by the end of the episode, and then boom, status quo. That's a pilot for you.
Well, again, it motivates everything, though. It's not just a pilot item. It ties into stuff.
All right, so speaking of which, do you want to kind of give a brief summary of the episode?
Yeah, so let's just kind of give you a quick little plot synopsis here. Okay, so in our first episode here, is Into the Ring, appropriately enough, because we're getting into the ring with everything here.
Indeed.
There's the cliff notes here. Matt is slowly making a name for himself as the Man in the Mask. We see Matt and Foggy. They're starting their practice, and they take on Karen Page's case after she is framed for murder.
We can totally be lawyers.
Definitely. Meanwhile, we see Wesley and the Kingpin's cabal. They're sending people to kill her, you know, using like their vast resources to do so. So like people like Mr. Rance after her. And the reason for that is because Karen Page, she stumbled upon a pension fund, like a giant embezzlement thing, kind of similar to Bates Motel, I'll admit.
Pretty much, yeah. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure this did it first, though. I'm pretty sure. Anyway.
Probably in terms of production schedule, yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's not a contest, though. They're both, pension funds all around. Who knows?
I would say this is a better show than Bates Motel, though.
Well,
I love my Bates Motel. I love my Bates Motel. Don't get me wrong, but this show is excellent right out the gate. And I mean, as much as we have fun with villains like like Chick Hogan's and his ball jerky and you know, whoever, I already forgot the name of the frickin' douchebag rich guy. What was his name?
Bob Paris.
Bob Paris. Yeah, you see, it's like, I don't know, I'm breaking your heart right now, aren't I? But
yes.
I just think that Kingpin is such a better villain and such a better sort of central focus.
Well, look, I'm not contesting. I'm agreeing with you. Definitely, I would say Daredevil's, because Daredevil's pretty much the best live-action superhero show I've ever seen. We're going to get into that in the series for all the various reasons why that is.
Essentially, yes.
Anyway, so
by far.
Continuing with a little recap here. So then basically the man in the mask, he foils the assassination attempt towards the end there, and he sends the pension fund flash drive, again, appropriately enough. Maybe Great Show's just starting to use the whole pension idea. Anyway, basically he sends the little flash drive with the information to Ben Urich, a very important reporter for episodes down the line. Meanwhile, Wesley's on the phone with the Kingpin. They're talking damage control, tying up loose ends and stuff. Kingpin says, leave her. We don't need any excess bodies. She doesn't know anything.
Oh, that is going to come back to haunt him.
Big time. Importantly, the Kingpin over the phone said, let's start a file on these 2 lawyers. And that's going to come back. Meanwhile, Karen, out of gratitude, she joins Nelson Murdoch as a secretary because that's what she's good at. And we see at the end a little awesome thing we'll get to a little more in depth later on. Basically, Kingpin has his plans in motion, various operations, and also a child has been kidnapped and Daredevil's on the prowl.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first episode in a nutshell.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I am not seeking penance for what I have done. I am seeking penance forgiveness for what I am about to do. Oh, yeah.
And also, real quick, before we get any further, I forgot to mention this earlier on. So, the reason we're kind of addressing this episode by episode is because these, at least to me, Tiki, they feel like mini movies. It's like they have so much great content in there, and like they're really not really burdened by censored rating on this. They're going for uncensored TV, adult stuff here. They get a lot in there for like a little. Basically,
that's one thing I'm going to want to talk to you about as we go through is how closely this thing kind of connects to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Sure, but seriously, doesn't each installment? That's the reason we're kind of taking this episode, because they do feel like mini moves. There's so much really good, dense material in there. It feels like
I will argue that there's certain points, like maybe like episodes 5 through 7, before we get into the big Kingpin backstory, where I can't really flesh out like what goes on from. Okay, obviously episode 4 is the big moment that shall not be spoken of, but I don't know. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're getting at, but I do think that certain particular episodes, notably episode 4, episode 8, episode 10, really do stand above, I feel. And the rest are kind of just like these good chapters, whereas those episodes that I mentioned really do kind of take the form of mini-movies, at least for me.
Even to me, though, I think even those the chapters feel like kind of satisfying experiences. I think they've kind of captured the Marvel vibe of like, you're reading a comic and you're getting like a full-length story in there, and just it's kind of the way it's brought to the screen feels like a mini-movie. But actually, we'll get into that a little later through the series.
Indeed.
Anyway, so I guess we should let's go through some arcs. What do you say?
Yeah, sure, let's do it. You want to start with just Matt and his multitude of relationships?
Sure. So let's go through. Let's talk about Matt's arc. Not his overall arc, because we're going to get episodes and episodes into that. But let's go through his arc in this episode. What do we learn about Matt this episode? What do we see with this guy specifically? So we see Matt just in the beginning. He's trying to make a difference. He's foiling Turk Barrett, which is a little awesome little catch.
Wait. Who's he foiling?
Turk Barrett. He was the guy in charge of the human trafficking. The human trafficking.
Is this something that we need to put in the DD file?
That is something we're going to put in the DD file. Folks, the DD file would be our Daredevil reference guide. So basically, when we address something, because this series is chock full of little Daredevil references.
And I have not read a Daredevil comic in my life. I want to, but I don't have the funds for that right now, and I would love to. Like, what is the big one that everyone goes to? Something like
Stiltman.
No, not Stiltman. There's one big one.
Bullseye.
No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about one particular storyline, but whatever.
Born Again?
Born Again, yes, that's it. Born Again, yes.
People go nuts for Born Again.
Yeah. I specifically really want to read Born Again, but I just haven't gotten the chance. So, so yes, BlueDragonFive, you will be our expert on the DD files.
Okay, so let's Basically, anytime we pull Daredevil, it's even that people recognize from the movies or some of the animation, anything. You know, see, we'll something like a little nugget for the DFL stuff that might pay off later on. We'll address it. We'll just kind of draw a reference to it, you know.
Oh, Foggy mentioned the Greek girl that Matt dated in college. Ooh.
Hey, don't jump ahead. So anyway, so we see Matt's trying to make a difference, both in and outside the system. You know, he believes in the system, but he realizes, you know, you can't do everything within the system, which is why he puts on his mask and he goes out and pummels criminals with his bare hands.
Oh yeah.
Right. And again, we saw a little Turk Barrett. Taking in the comics, just in general, Daryl. There's this character called Turk Barrett, who is the black guy we have at the beginning here, who's like in charge of the human trafficking.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's a real son of a bitch, man. He's like, all right, get in there, you know, and you'll get a bucket if you're lucky, and if you cooperate. But if you don't, then you're just gonna get a cattle prod.
Yeah, if you're nice little girls, you get a bucket. Otherwise, you get in the cattle prod.
Yeah. I'm like, what a jerk.
Yeah, essentially, Turk Bear is he's a little more comedic usually because he's just the reoccurring Daredevil bad guy. He's basically a small timer that always Daredevil kind of busts on a regular basis and gets information from him a lot.
Okay.
That's usually how he operates. And here, they made him a little more menacing, but still the same premise because he will come back a lot of time. We see at the end of this episode, he's definitely coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we see, you know, Daredevil is just kind of slowly making a difference. He got some great, you know, heroism with him because I love that beginning where he's just, you know, he frees the girls and you know, he's like, he has a little bit where he says, you know, find a desk sergeant, you know, tell him what happened or something like that, and he beats the thing, he's like, go now. Yeah.
That's a great moment, a great, of course, Batman-esque moment, you know, where it's like he kind of uses his intimidation factor a little bit, but not, of course, not to harm them, just to get them the hell out of there.
Speaking of Matt, I mean, let's just give it up now. Charlie Cox, wonderful performance, I thought.
The definitive Daredevil. Anyone who ever plays him ever after this is going to have, like, so much on their shoulders to compete against.
Don't get me wrong. I like Affleck Daredevil. This guy knocks it out of the ballpark. I mean, come on.
Oh, this guy puts Affleck Daredevil to shame, man.
But no one just bag on Affleck Daredevil though. It wasn't that bad. But I mean, Cox.
I haven't seen the director's cut, so I won't comment on that. But
well, actually, Tiki.
Yeah, the theatrical version was that bad. I hate to tell you.
Turk is also in the director's cut. He has a more prominent role in the director's cut of Daredevil.
Okay.
He's actually the criminal client they're defending in that movie in the director's cut.
Interesting. Huh.
And he's played by Coolio.
Of course.
Which again is kind of fitting in with how Turk usually is more the comic.
I think I remember him from the movie. I remember him. Yeah.
He might have had a smaller role in the actual movie. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he had a small role.
It's bigger
because I just remember like, wait, is that Coolio?
Anyway.
Oh god.
So we also see, you know, like basically this whole first episode, especially through Matt's arc here, we get like I love how we get kind of a good piloty scope of the universe, like kind of stuff we can expect, like kind of a reoccurring stuff that kind of fleshes. What?
I said piloty is right.
Yeah, but not in the bad way. I thought it was good pilot stuff. It's like kind of like stuff. It's like good. It's good establishment of the universe. I think that's what I kind of viewed it as. Like,
no, it's good establishment. Like I guess my whole complaint doesn't have to do with establishment, more so just kind of like plot conveniences. But whatever.
Anyway, so like one of the things here, just kind of fleshing out the Daredevil universe, the stuff that we've seen kind of touched on in the movie, which is good to see more fleshed out here. Is like, you know, he goes to chat with the father regularly, and you know, as he says, you know, Father, as you just said, you know, I'm about to sin. You know, like kind of the father saying, you know, like he says, like, oh, Jesus Christ. He says, language.
As Tony Stark might say to Captain America.
But, you know, I think the father is a little more justified with that.
Oh, yeah. But still, rewatching it, I had to laugh at that.
And a really cool idea that kind of cemented in this first episode here in that scene between him and the father. First of all, I just love the idea he talks to father regularly, because that's the thing with Daredevil. Usually he's definitely kind of
that's a classic thing from the comics. Yeah, of course. That's like... You know, even me as kind of a novice to the comics, I know that's like a huge part of his character. Yeah.
Which I will say, you definitely have to balance it well, because sometimes you don't want, again, if you make your characters too, like, I guess what's the term I'm looking for, like religiously identifiable. It's kind of a, it can kind of, like, you don't want your character come across as too preachy. You know, you got to balance it well. So basically, it's there, but it's not in the forefront. Which here they do really well. It's about his character, but it's not like his full defining element, you know. It's like something that.
So you mean there's no 20-second close-ups on the Virgin Mary like in the movie?
Well, I mean, it's not like Daredevil when he takes down a bad guy, he preaches like oh yes, do the Catholic way, you know. It's like, oh, repent.
No, but seriously, you remember Doug Walker making that joke?
Yeah. Anyway,
okay, we're just the camera's just gonna sit here for a while, so.
It's like Superman gets a lot of guff for like the Messiah thing, but Daredevil's character, and sometimes in the comics he can go a little more out of proportion with that sort of thing.
I mean, yeah, you're right. That's a tricky line to draw, but here it's just absolutely perfect.
Again,
you know what's so great about it, and this kind of leads into more stuff with Matt. He's so self-deprecating about it in a very positive kind of sense of humor sort of way.
Yes.
There's a very quotable line in episode 2 that we'll get to. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. But I guess the reason it really works so well in the series is that it's addressed as it's a way of giving Daredevil kind of someone to blow steam off to, like another like kind of a supporting character to kind of air his grievances out onto the father, because it makes sense. Well, Daredevil's had a long day, and who can know his secret? Who else would know his secret? Someone he can't really lie to, the father.
You're going to probably crucify me for this, pun intended, but I almost kind of view I view the Gordon figure in the show as kind of a combination of Urich and the priest.
No, you'd be correct in that, Tiki. There's nothing wrong with that. That's because Urich traditionally is his Gordon, and father, I can definitely see what you're talking about with the father. You know, he's kind of
just because the father's like, you know, especially kind of towards the later episodes where the father's a little bit more clear on what he may know or may not know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they go for like a cross between like kind of a Gordon / Lucius Fox type, you know, and ambiguous dynamic. Right. You know what I mean? Like how they, it's like basically the father. He knows he's doing something. He can just put the pieces together. Well, there's a masked man making a big name for himself. It must be this guy. But that's down the line.
And yeah, Urich, of course, is like the central kind of Gordon figure. And just really quickly with Urich, I'm just gonna get this off my chest right now. It took me like 2 or 3 episodes to get used to him, just because the whole time I was like, wait, is that Gus?
Really?
Yes.
Are you serious? Oh.
I'm serious.
Get it. And anyway, so I think one of the best...
You're not even going to acknowledge that. I'm sorry. He's an older-looking black guy who's, you know, very kind of he's got a thin face, you know, he's got the facial hair, he looks like Gus.
I don't have words for that, Tiki. Just let's continue.
Good. Just move on then.
And anyway, so one of the best lines in that scene between him and the father is, you know, I believe as Matt's kind of airing out stuff to the father here, he's saying like, you know, my grandmother said like the Murdoch boys, they have the devil in them.
Oh yeah, that's a great line for sure.
And of course, that's kind of signifying the determination that'll come out of you know, the man in the mask here, is that the fact that, you know, he's got that determination, like, you know, the idea that, you know, my father would get knocked down, he would never get knocked down, he'd get knocked out, but never knocked down.
Yeah, and all this that he's saying is, of course, going to very much play into kind of the flashbacks that we see develop in the first couple episodes.
And of course, the other thing that's going to come in big time is that, like, there's like with that determination, also, it's like there's like a thin line between him maybe going over a line of like that's where the source of power comes through. He gets all that strength, but again, it's like a teetering line though. He can go over the edge like a devil would. You know, like a guy's like noble intentions can go a little too far, but again, there's that determination there. It's kind of driving him with the strength underneath it all. So again, that line is a really good line. It's like he has the devil in him. So he has that untapped, dangerous power, but if it's used properly, it can help people. If not, then it can push him over the edge and make him like a fallen angel of some kind.
I feel like you can kind of equate that in 2 different ways. One, in the whole sort of rule that he doesn't kill, which I must say it works, but I'm not used to it with Daredevil.
Well, remember...
Maybe that's because of the fucking Ben Affleck movie and the whole, like, you know, him killing the guy with the train and everything right at the very beginning, but...
Well, that's the thing, Tiki. So that it's not set in stone that Daredevil doesn't kill people. That's the Affleck movie did get that right. Sometimes Daredevil was accidentally. It's more so accidentally, but he tries not to kill.
I wouldn't say that train was very accidental. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to that.
No, I'm saying in the comics, and we see in this series even, there's like an accidental death of some kind does shape Daredevil.
Sure.
And that is from the comic. There is a comic series that this series is based off, particularly with the whole mask look he's sporting this whole series. Is that it's the John Romita Jr. Again, John Romita Jr.'s art style looks beautiful, by the way. Mm-hmm. But basically it's called Man Without Fear. That run of the comics is what it's basically Daredevil's early beginnings when he just put on like a sweatsuit to go around fighting crime.
Right. Right.
Essentially, that's where they got a lot of their stuff for the series from. And in that book, he accidentally kills someone. That's why Stick turns him down in that book.
Okay. And also, I think it's kind of a duology of, Matt could push himself too far to where he would be in the line of fire to get killed himself. And my God, we see Matt take so many beatings throughout the course of the series.
Yeah, it's really impressive the fact that it doesn't kill anyone, even though there's a lot of brutal beatings in this show.
Right, yeah, and it just goes to just further illustrate how heroic he is.
Again, there's also that kind of interesting idea that he might go too far, might be a little more justified than per usual with this guy,
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a beautiful parallel between him and his father, where it's like, he's constantly getting knocked down, he's constantly getting the shit kicked out of him, but he never gives into the system.
Exactly. Again, we're going to talk about this more next episode, but I love him and his father. I've always had an affinity for Jack Murdock, and I do love how that kind of gets shown in this series. Jack Murdock's always a cool character to show.
I would argue that Jack Murdock is among one of the stronger Uncle Ben figures of Marvel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Jack Murdock's always been like a cool character. We'll get into that more next episode. But anyway, let's see. So again, with the kind of stuff that's kind of set up with Matt's character here. So like kind of similar to the really nicely similar to the movie. He wants honest clients. He seeks the truth. He's all about kind of like like innocent clients over guilty clients. But of course, Foggy takes issue with that. Of like, wait a minute, where's our money coming from if we don't have guilty clients?
Let's just talk about the Foggy and Matt dynamic right now because I think it's the heart of the whole show.
Oh, of course it is.
I really like, just the way that it builds up and the way it feels like a genuine, real friendship with all the ups and downs that come with real friendship. You know what I mean?
Yes. Again, the acting, basically every part in this show, I think, is extremely well cast. Everyone does a fantastic job. I mean, Foggy, he's lifted right off the page. I don't like the long hair look, but it's grown on me since watching.
I love the long hair look. It's one of my favorite parts of his character.
I mean, it was like a minor gripe when I just first saw the guy when he was cast. Like, like a long hair, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I was nitpicking before the show happens. Like, well, I mean, he acts so fantastically. The hair doesn't even matter.
No, the hair doesn't matter, and what I like about the hair is that it shows that he's kind of like, just the idea of this guy with this crazy hair in a business suit, it shows that he's a class clown, but he's also a damn good lawyer at the same time.
Yeah,
and I like that about him.
Foggy's kind of our Saul Goodman type lawyer, he's just...
Oh, God, yes. That's the first Saul Goodman reference of the evening, folks. Mark it down.
And the idea with Foggy, usually, and we even get to see this especially in the movie, is that Foggy Nelson is the idea is like a lot of the time he's not a good lawyer, but he's good with Matt. Like he plays off well against Matt. Like the two of them together, a really strong team. But alone, Foggy.
I honestly don't even remember him from the movie at all.
Jon Favreau.
Oh, was Jon Favreau in the movie? Oh shit. Okay. Oh damn! I need to rewatch that movie.
So the idea is they work together well as a team. And Foggy, he's a good lawyer, but it's kind of similar to they're doing another show about lawyers soon.
Wait, what?
There's going to be
a show about lawyers
coming up this I believe this fall. There's going to be a show about Rob Lowe and Fred Savage and their lawyers, and one's a TV. And I'm not going to get into it. Point is, it's kind of a similar thing of one is
the shows about lawyers.
It's kind of the running lawyer thing with all kind of lawyer shows that there's a lawyer who's really good, but he just can't win the courtroom cases alone.
Of course.
Like Saul Goodman wanted to do everything out of a courtroom and. And the idea of Foggy Nelson alone, he's not that good. He needs Matt to be an effective lawyer. And here we see
kind of a good parallel between Saul and Matt, because in the beginning of Better Call Saul, he's taking his clients, he's going through the elder law and stuff like that. And he's also, it's kind of like a mix of both, because at the beginning he's kind of taking on these really shady people. And that's kind of his whole MO. And then he goes into the elder law thing, and then we're going to eventually see him kind of transform into the Saul Goodman we all know and love, who, makes a very, very good living off of defending clients who are completely and totally guilty.
I'm just going to hope Foggy and Matt never do a Chicago sunroof. Just hoping that never happens. Point is,
Oh no,
No,
you
but
have to go there.
However, in all seriousness, so the thing in this series with Foggy is that I think you do see he is, even on his own in this series, I think he's even better because you see he's a really good smooth talker. He's really charming, really charming, really funny. We see him like doing kind of the Saul Goodman type stuff. Like he talks to the desk sergeant, who's a really great character. By the way, he's kind of like another semi. He's kind of like a cross between like a bit of a Bullock and a Gordon. It's kind of
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I forgot. I had his name down before. It was the one they keep bribing his mother with cigars.
I just have it written down in my notes.
It's Mahoney.
Guy.
It's Officer Mahoney. It's something Mahoney.
Mahoney. Hold on, let me see if I can find it in my notes.
It's like I think it's like L Mahoney or something Mahoney.
I do like the line right at the beginning, like Matt's like, or Foggy's like, no, seriously, I gotta go grab a cop. And for the record, it's Brett Mahoney.
No, there you Brett Mahoney. That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah. Good job, notes.
Anyways, yeah, I do really like Brett Mahoney. I love how he pays off by the end of the season. We'll get to that.
Yeah, he's definitely a minor character that kind of weaves his way through the tapestry, for sure.
But he's a good minor character with a funny running gag that his mother smokes cigars, and that's how they can bribe him. And even though it's like one of those things, you have a family member who smokes, you really don't want him to, but they do it anyway. You know what I mean? It's like
I could just see Bullock doing that to one of his coworkers.
Well, I can imagine someone doing it to Bullock.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so to see what I mean, I mean, Foggy, he's a fantastic character in the way he's performed everything. He's a charming guy. You do definitely root for. Foggy could have his own spin-off almost, but the two of them, they need each other. They worked so well as a team, and they've known each other for so long, and they have such an impactful relationship. We'll get into later on, and they just they're kind of linked together like this. Basically, one's optimistic, one's like, no, we can't do this. We don't have the resources to do this. Like, what is it with you and attractive women? Troublesome, attractive women. How do you keep finding them?
Oh, I wish you had that clip of, like, why do you keep getting into cars with questionable women?
No, it's seriously. You even see that in the movie, and just in general, is the idea Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock is kind of the bizarro Peter Parker because he gets all the ladies.
Right.
He's actually, Daredevil and Matt Murdock. They've gotten so many famous Marvel characters like Black Widow, obviously Elektra, and there's a whole slew of them. I want to say Silver Surfer.
That blind thing going on. It's not a myth. It's not a myth.
Chicks dig the blind thing. Same thing with Tony Stark. They love the injured puppy thing.
Exactly. Okay. I wish that worked for mental illness, but it doesn't. Moving on.
You'd be surprised how many women love like serial killers and stuff in like TV shows. Like they say,
let's not get into that because I very much do not want to be a serial killer.
Oh right, no, you know what I mean. I'm just saying people who are different. They go for people that are different.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Let's not talk about my personal love life here.
Right. moving on.
I'm so lonely.
You silly woman.
Okay. Anyways, so one detail that I really noticed rewatching is just how much kind of Matt exhibits his disability in front of Foggy, which I found fascinating. Like how he has the when they're getting the tour of the office, how he has the lady kind of show him around, even though we know darn well he can walk himself around.
And again, it's also adorable just to see another attractive woman is gravitating towards Matt, and Foggy. He's noticing it like, oh, again.
That's true. Yeah, and I love the line, she just curtsied. It was adorable.
Really, really great. Just again, the dynamic between these two, it's one of the best friendships you've seen in Marvel. It's like close aside from this, it's probably Cap and Sam Wilson's probably been the best Marvel friendship you've ever seen.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
either that or some stuff from Guardians, but also this is one of the big contenders, like one of the best.
I guess Guardians, like maybe I'd say like Rocket and Groot.
Of course, I mean you got a lot of great friendships, and Groot and Drax. I mean, it's a whole bunch of friendships.
Right.
Point is, so like getting back to stuff here, like again, something big with Matt's character. We're going to see definitely. It's going to be a huge thematic thing with his characters that he seeks truth. Lawyer seeks truth, blind to all the stuff around him, but he seeks.
Hey, you get it? He's a lawyer and he's blind, so we can use the term blind justice. I'm doing a terrible Stan Lee right now.
Yeah, it really is a terrible Stan Lee.
I apologize, Stan, if you're watching, which you're not.
He's
blind, you see?
No, but seriously, it's still the way it's kind of portrayed in this series. The big thing in this episode is that he's seeking truth, and that, of course, Karen in this episode, she lies to him a lot, and the idea is, later in the episode, he's asking her if she's telling him everything she knows, and he knows exactly that she is lying. Yet at the end, it says, it's because you told me the truth, and he knows that she's lying. He's still saying. Again, he's in a world where he wants everyone just to tell the truth so the world can go around, but he realizes, that's not the case, but still good can be done despite this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, he's denying truth even by the people closest around him. Of course, he himself is denying other people truth because he can't just tell Foggy, he's as good at seeing as he truly is, as we can definitely tell us at the beginning here.
Right, and I love how the whole thing just. It builds and builds so beautifully that we don't even realize he's doing it at first.
What do you think about these? We get in this first episode and then through, especially next episode, but in this episode we got a little hint of Matt has these great moments of introspection and flashback from these hardships he's facing.
I love them, and I'll talk about one of them in one of my favorite scenes, but...
Sure, but you see what I mean, though? Just the idea when it gets to those moments where he's a little hazy in the mind, or he's really super bummed out. He just has those moments of introspection just coming from the hardship of the bad stuff that's happening to him. He's just
yeah.
Just the idea it's kind of this flowing back to him, in these moments of just kind of giving the fiery determination of that's what I need. It's it's a good reminder.
I like the structure of this show where it's not every episode needs flashbacks, but when we have the flashbacks, it means that it's a very kind of significant sort of character development episode. Kind of like the way that Better Call Saul did it in a way. Especially with 5-0, of course.
Of course. I love that Matt, he does a really good thing they've kind of cemented in this episode of Matt's character. He wants to trust the system, but he can't. Because at the end, after he foils Mr. Rance, when he beats the living tar out of him, he hangs him by the chain and everything. And really, I love the rain and everything in that scene. So good.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So basically, he takes the flash drive from him. He says he's going to go take it to the police. I guess I give it to Brett Mahoney, but then or someone there. And Karen Page says, "Wait, no, you can't. You can't take it to the police. They'll know. They might be dirty or something." And pretty much says, "No, that's not going to help." And Matt says, "Well, okay, fine. Fine." But what he does instead is really interesting with his character. The big thing with his character is that he still spreads the truth. Again, truth is a huge thing with this guy. So he, while he can't operate within the system to get things taken care of, because he realized, there probably might be some people on payroll of these bad guys that they'd hire, because after all, there was a prison guard that tried to kill you, so maybe there's someone with connections here. But what I can do is I can send this to a reporter, because how can a reporter not kind of utilize this, because it's a huge deal, huge information here, sends it to Ben Urich, and it gets spread that way. So again, he's all about getting the truth out there in some way, even if it's an unconventional method. So basically, as long as the truth and justice does get served in some way, that's what Matt's big focus is.
Of course. Do you want to go into his relationship with Karen before we get into the Kingpin side of this thing?
Oh, sure, take us through it.
Okay, well, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the whole device of we have to introduce this character by having her in this really intense sort of situation right off the bat. To tell you that it felt like cheap drama in a way. It really did.
Let me tell you this, to you. I'm not sure it's going to help you at all, but just to give you some context, Karen Page, she's a character with a lot of...
Okay, I know she has a lot of substance abuse issues. That's all I know.
But basically, she's got a lot of dark stuff in her past and stuff. So this is this would be fitting for her character of just having these... just having a lot of extraordinarily bad luck,
Fair enough. The one moment, looking back on it, that I definitely had to highlight was when Foggy and her and Matt meet for the first time, and she says she doesn't have any money, and then Foggy immediately leaves and essentially abandons her. That really colors all their entire relationship. It's crazy, that one moment.
Again, he's not trying to be mean.
Yeah, it's to comedic effect for sure, but it's just think about how symbolic that is with how with how their relationship ultimately ends up.
Of course, and the thing with Karen Page and the comics that they definitely do hint at the end of this episode is that it's kind of like an Archie situation of it's like question of who is she going to end up with, in the classic Stan Lee comics, because she liked both of them. And
it's like Lost with Jack and Sawyer.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like Betty and Veronica, but just with guys instead.
Well, I'm saying with the guys, with the one girl pining over the two guys, it's exactly like Lost. Except, unlike Lost, they don't make it the central focus of the entire damn story, which is one of the things that pissed me off about Lost.
It's going to be an interesting thing, just given what we do see in this first season, just seeing how these characters do play off. They do form really good bonds and really good friendships, just seeing how that's going to pay off, if they do. Like they start dating one another in the future, if that happens, we'll see, because they all have really fantastic chemistry. They shows Matt really he's real genuine. There's that great scene in Matt's apartment. First of all, just established that he got his apartment for a good deal because he has this giant billboard outside that basically no one could see.
I love that idea. I wish we'd see it a little more.
Well, you get to see it periodically in the nighttime scenes. Yeah, just the idea, just he and Karen are talking. Like Karen's her first question is Matt cuts her off instantly, saying, "Was I always blind?" Well, yeah. Just the idea that I love that Matt is the first guy in the room because he's the one that really he went to bat for Karen in this episode. And she realized that. I mean, don't get me wrong, she likes Foggy. She's going to grow closer to Foggy, as we're going to see.
Of course.
Maybe because of that, that's why she gravitates.
Oh, that Daredevil BlueDragonFive.
Yeah, that Darnell, and it's kind of funny again. Just Foggy pointing out, you don't even see these women. They're instantly troubled, and they all gravitate towards you. You realize that, right? And again, it's the same thing with Karen Page. Funny enough, and that's probably what Foggy right off as. Another girl Matt gets, and I don't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's really good to see how it kind of plays out throughout the series.
And just the idea that he's given up for that reason. Just Matt just went up to bat for it. And again, Charlie Cox, just a little way he delivers these lines so straightly and so kind of. He has this great quietness about him that works so well. I've never seen him with Daredevil until this series. Of it makes sense. He would be kind of a quiet guy because he listens to everything. It's
like the opposite of Christian Bale Batman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in one of my first introductions to Daredevil before the movie was the animated Spider-Man show where they had him on there for 2 episodes, and he had he looked like classic Stan Lee Daredevil, and he had a deep voice, and he was it was kind of a Gary Owens type voice. It wasn't Gary Owens, but it was like a Gary Owens voice.
Okay,
so it's kind of this deep well, I suffered an accident when I was a kid and I lost my sight, something like that.
But it's not like, where's Fisk? Where's Fisk?
It wasn't like that, no. Point is, he has that great quietness about him, just the sincerity behind him saying, "I'll take care of you, Karen."
I'm goggling rocks!
But see what I mean? You had this great sense of security with Matt Murdock that's really sweet, really nice. Hey, that's why he's such a great, approachable guy. He has that sense of security of oh yeah, sure, I'll take care of you. Hey, what are you doing, Foggy? You're so friendly and nice. And yet at the same time, he's still pummeling people, and as we're going to see, kind of stabbing them to get information later on.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, so also again, I love this little touch that he's trains like his father when he's just kind of thinking about the future, and he's just training in general. He's punching the bag to think about things for the future.
Mm-hmm. Of course, it reminded me of Cap a little bit, not going to lie.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Also, the weirdest coincidence in the Marvel Universe, the place is called Fogwell's Gym, and he has a buddy named Foggy. Is that just...
Fogwell's Gym.
That always kind of bugs me. Fogwell's Gym is a real location in the comics and everything, but it's still why on earth would they still name a place Fogwell's Gym if you have a major character named Foggy Nelson? It's a little too similar to me.
I mean, to tell you the truth, with 60s Marvel, I don't think naming people and things and locations was their greatest quality.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that, but after all these years, they're never gonna explain that. Or I was the first episode for a moment, I was thinking, hey, maybe they're gonna say Foggy's uncle or something owns the place because remember, he has relatives all over New York that are good at things. Remember that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is a running thing with his character.
Okay, so Matt Murdock's arc in this episode. We see him kind of. This is a Daredevil in his beginnings. So the idea is later on we're going to see him in his more formative, his Bruce Wayne ski mask training phase and flashbacks.
Right.
We're going to see that, and the idea here is he's been operating for a while because of what. what Claire is going to say in our next episode. That he's been operating. He's been still making a difference, but more of a smaller difference. But now that he's meddling within is our transitioning point here, with kind of Kingpin's operations with like Turk importing human trafficking and stuff. That's when he's starting to make his mark in like the big criminal organization. So the man in the mask is starting to become like the term everyone's like referring to him as. Like he's starting to make like there's now a name to go with the ominous non-face in New York.
Exactly.
It's like now he's starting to make a difference. So basically, this whole first season is kind of Daredevil's origin, which is really nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but I feel like it's definitely not an origin story.
Yeah, it's like it's telling
it
its own
is not
story.
structured like an origin story at all. The whole thing is Murdoch versus Fisk and how similar they are. I feel like that is like the thematic sort of crux of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's an origin, but an origin that it's at the back seat of all the stuff going on. You know, it's it's just saying, yeah, this is an origin, but it's like something never. It's just I just love that they start the idea of like at the beginning of this episode, we do see like Matt getting blinded, and really kind of coolly shot way of like, don't get me wrong, it was horrific in the original Daredevil movie when you saw this, but just seeing it here of like how it's still different yet horrific for a kid of like, I can't see.
Let's give it up to that kid actor, man. He really knocks it out of the park the few episodes he's there.
That's the only way.
I can't see. Oh god, yeah, really terrifying stuff.
That's the way you want to approach an origin. Like just the first like 2 minutes, you get like the horrific moment of origin that he's just thinking about, and then we just see the fully formed guy. At least definitely a more formed part of him that's going to be advanced throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
and of course, how great is it that they waited until the last episode to do the red suit?
Oh, of course. And they built it. They built it.
Choice, but I think it paid off great.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of advancement, definitely kind of the other side of our Matt Murdock coin here. I guess we should transition to the Cabal.
Okay. So yeah, we don't get the actual man himself until episode 3, and even then, he's just kind of at the end. He really doesn't come into his own until episode 4. So it's a slow build up to Kingpin. You want to talk about that a little bit, just kind of from an artistic standpoint?
So by the way, folks, because they don't really have like a cool name yet, I just kind of called them Kingpin's Cabal. I like the word Cabal, but I hate the fact it's kind of attached to the crappy animated Marvel shows now because they call like the Avengers bad guys the Cabal.
Oh,
which is stupid.
But
again, Cabal's too good in the pass up, so I might be using it. Anyway, so let me just isolate why it's such a brilliant way they've done the Cabal in this series here. Just a brilliant way of doing like a kind of a linked criminal network from the Kingpin here. Is that here's the idea. Here's what's kind of set up for us in terms of the arc of the Cabal. Since Kingpin's taken over Rigoletto's empire, Rigoletto was the predecessor to the Kingpin, and we get name drops of him here and there throughout the first season, Tiki. Since Kingpin has taken over Rigoletto's
something that goes in the DD file, perhaps?
Yes, it's definitely going to be paid off season 2, from what I hear.
Okay.
Since he's taken over Rigoletto's empire and kind of he with that, and he's also branched out. The smart thing he's done as a businessman, as a mob boss here, Kingpin has branched out into other mob criminal organized factions. So he's like it's like in the Dark Knight, like the 5 branches of the mob. You know, it's like here he's got like it's Madame Zhao, the 2 Russians, Vladimir Anatoly. Leland Owlsley, he's got the finance guy, and then of course there's Nobu. Nobu, our Japanese.
Oh man, we'll be seeing Nobu again.
Yeah, Nobu's our Japanese branch of things, and let's just say he's one of those lethal members of the.
He's a ninja. He was a ninja, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, so we see basically that's where Kingpin's gotten a lot of his power from. It's basically 3 of them. It's taking over Rigoletto's empire, just absorbing his branches of power, which we can only assume he's worked up to the ranks of Rigoletto's organization to take his power, which is how he usually goes in the comics, which we'll see how that plays out. Maybe it's different. I don't know. Again, he's branched out, which is like where he's got a lot of his additional resources and all his other operations. It's not just one operation, it's several because of these branching out. And the other thing, the thing that's given them all this power, the reason like they're all flourishing at some of the reason Hell's Kitchen is in huge trouble is because they are recovering from a very vulnerable, from when New York was made very vulnerable, the incident, which, as we all know, is actually a Chitauri invasion.
Of course, and that is the one thing that kind of ties the MCU back to this show. I will say tonally, this show is like freaking drastically different from any other MCU thing, besides the occasional foggy wisecrack here and there.
No, but here's the thing, though, Tiki. It feels like the dark side of Marvel, though. It's so cool.
Oh no, absolutely! It feels like the dark side of Marvel.
It may be so different, but it still feels so distinctly Marvel. Just the darker flip side of that, though. It's like the side, like these are like it's like Karen Page says in the next episode. It's the dark corners of the Marvel universe.
And then when you look at someone like Wilson Fisk, I mean, he is okay. Let's just put it to bed right now. I mean, we're not even going to get to him until episode 4, but would you say, like, out of all the villains in the MCU, he's got to be the best, right?
Probably. Yeah, as much as I like
Ultron, no question.
If I'm molding in TV with the Netflix shows with the Marvel movies, then probably Kingpin's gonna take the top of it.
Yeah. If you, that's what I'm saying. If
and
you
I do really,
everything in there. I definitely think Kingpin's the best.
I really like Ultron, but I think Kingpin's just too fascinating a villain to not put.
I know you really like Ultron, but man, Kingpin was just something else. But anyways,
he's truly fascinating.
Enough talk about a character that won't even show up for another 2 episodes.
Right. So anyway, so basically the incident was where all our guys kind of got their power because Kingpin has a lot of interest. I assume he owns the company too, but like kind of like he owns like the guy who owns the company type thing. He owns Union Allied. So this is the reason I think the Karen Page thing is actually well seated in Tiki. I think it's because Union Allied. The idea here is that it's the big source of power for everyone because Union Allied is a construction company that rebuilt New York after the incident. And that's where they get a lot of their funding for the pension fund, which Karen Page stumbles upon, with the money's going to the criminal, like the side pockets of the big criminal figures here.
Yeah, no, you got a good point because it really does kind of set up like what her motivations are going to be throughout the series, and she definitely improves. I mean, by God, like by the end of the first season, she is like. You know, she is kind of like a Peggy Carter or a, I don't know, what's another good example of a female character that puts someone like Skylar White to shame?
Well, I mean, Kim Wexler, definitely.
Oh, yeah, Kim. Yeah, that was the person I was thinking of, yeah. Oh, she kind of got to be someone like that, in a way.
Well, she's definitely a Kim Wexler type. You know, just the idea. I liked her from the beginning because, especially towards the end, there was the idea she was just this character who, like, she wasn't just a damsel in distress. You cared about her. You know, she was like someone you understood what kind of position she was in. It wasn't just like, oh, she's just the girlfriend who's in trouble. No, she was. First of all, she wasn't anyone's girlfriend. Secondly, and there was a great moment where she just addresses straight from, like, I know how this sounds. I know it sounds really bad, but I'm telling you, it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Just that moment really sold me on her.
Of course, we get that thing of Matt listening to the heartbeat, which is pivotal.
And the idea that she still lies to him, but she still, you know, Matt just still sees something in her, so he doesn't like call her out or anything.
Right.
You know, still, I mean, Karen's instantly won me over, and especially next episode when she completely sold me. I gave her a chance after this first one because she really, there was elements I really liked. Next episode, I fell in love with her. I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so there's a great line by Lee.
So in terms of some of Kingpin's croonies here.
Yeah, so with the cronies, real quick. So saying Leland Owsley, I love this guy. We'll talk about him in 1 millisecond.
Oh my God, I love him.
I know.
He's like, oh my God, he steals every scene he's in.
1 second, though. We'll get to him 1 second. Just the idea is that he says this great line saying, you know, whenever someone gets thrown through a wall, that's money in our pockets. The idea is whenever there's super damage in a battle in New York, basically because they still own all the construction companies, especially Union Allied, and they rebuild stuff. Right. He's the finance guy saying, well, we're in charge of rebuilding stuff, so we get, you know, money in our pockets whenever we rebuild all the stuff these superheroes are tearing down their battles and everything.
Mm-hmm. But the first guy that we meet is Wesley.
Ah, yes. Oh my God, I love Wesley so much.
Oh, I know you're a big fan of Wesley.
Wesley is, I liked Wesley was okay in the movie, but this Wesley is so much more interesting.
I mean, in a way, he kind of has like a Gareth-style relationship with Kingpin.
Yes, that's what I love so much. We're going to see later on that he's truly Kingpin's friend, almost his brother. Almost.
Sure.
Fascinating. And just the idea here is Wesley. Wesley's the perfect guy that works for the Kingpin. He has as much integrity and intimidation as the Kingpin himself. So this is like the ultimate voice of the Kingpin. You know, the guy's just going around like he's a doer of the Kingpin's will. Right. You know, he's carrying out all these actions so callously. It's a job to him, and he's enjoyed a place.
He's kind of like the public face of Wilson Fisk before he kind of goes public himself.
Yeah. again, it's so wonderful. This guy, he just has that intimidation factor. Yet all that. He also has the charisma too of like he's really entertaining. Like he says, his line delivery sounds so official and like so professional and he's so efficient. You know, he's like he's the ultimate go-to guy. It just makes sense that he would be so good at his job.
Oh yeah,
you know?
oh yeah. And of course, he has the horn rim glasses; those definitely help.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, you're right. And so let's walk you through this before we get further into our guys here. This might be our bridging to the guys here. Here are some of the various operations that play within this organization. The construction's a huge element of, but there are a lot of the illicit activities that's giving them money in their pockets here. So they got gun running, drugs, which you see Madame Zhao, she's kind of in charge of the drug element, which is a reference to another Marvel show we'll get to when we get to a little more. Embezzlement, as we see with Karen Page's, the pension things, like embezzlement,
right.
when you're getting their cash flown through the construction company, and of course we saw in the beginning trafficking with the Turk. Turk and the Russians are trafficking the women, so that's important. The Russians are overseeing Turk; they brought in Turk.
Okay.
You know. And again, since the Man in the Mask has leaned on the Russians and Turks trafficking, that's kind of brought him to their attention. Which, of course, then we have the great meeting scene between all the mob guys. So we got
which is so good when you've seen the whole series and you know where all their different story arcs are going.
That's probably one of my favorite things in the episode. Just seeing a Marvel's take, like fully now that they had so many great movies under the belt. Now they got a Netflix series and seeing them take on the mob finally. And they do it so well. It's the idea they have. I love the mundanity that's associated with these guys. You know, they meet in like these locations, like in parking garages, and they're just waiting around. Kingpin, and they're making small talk, and just like Leland's. Oh my God, the actor that plays Leland, Owlsley. Owlsley, by the way, is the Owl from the comics. The Owl essentially is the other big crime boss in Daredevil's universe. Who kind of is under like him. It's between him and the Kingpin usually. He's the other big mob boss. And he has like all the funny one-liners. For those who may not be aware, he's the bad guy from Patch Adams and like the official police guy, like police. I don't know if he's commissioner or not, but like police guy from Demolition Man. You know, like the real prick, the guy with the bald head.
And he's also a really awesome president in 24.
Yeah, so he's a really good actor playing him. I mean, despite the fact he plays a lot of he plays bad guys a lot.
But the 24 president was a good guy though.
Oh, right, sorry.
Yeah.
The point is,
and to be fair, that might be the most iconic role. So.
Yeah, and here he just plays he has a wonderful character to play because he's the guy who's not afraid to speak at one of like the mundane things, just saying.
Yeah, he's the guy that's just frustrated, man. He's the guy that's just gonna speak out about just like, just the day-to-day inconveniences of his job.
That's so funny. If Kingpin's the guy, you don't know what he's thinking. Then Owlsley's the guy who wears it on his sleeve, and he makes it loud. You know, he's just saying, "What are we doing here?" He's saying, "This is bad. Should we be talking about this instead of looking intimidating?"
I love the moment where
Zhao says something to him, and she said the idea is like with their characters, like she speaks in Chinese, but she can actually speak English, and that's going to be kind of like she plays on expectations that way, and. As she's speaking Chinese, no one can understand her except Leland and the Kingpin. And basically, so I'm sorry, not Leland, except for the Kingpin and Wesley. So when Leland's just talking to her, she says something to him. He says, "Does anyone speak Chinese?" And he asks Nobu. Nobu is obviously Japanese, and Nobu gives this look of like, "What did you just say to me?" And he says, "Well, I don't know. Maybe you're speaking on the side."
Well, is it Chinese or Japanese?
Yeah, but there's just the idea he's not trying to be offensive. He's just saying, "No, I know you're not Chinese, but I'm asking you. Do you know?"
Yeah, exactly.
This is forget it. So the point is, he has all the funny one-liners. Owlsley. Leland's just these.
But I love the moment where where Wesley walks up and then Owlsley's just like he's bitching him out. Just, "Oh, please tell me he's right behind you. Oh, come on."
He's like the worrywart of the money because he's the money man. It makes sense. All of these guys, they serve a specific purpose. So again, Zhao's more in charge of the drugs. Nobu's in charge of the construction, also bringing in the outside sources. Yeah, he's like the import-export guy of the group. Again, the Russians are more the muscle and the day-to-day operations. And again,
right, the Russians are going to play kind of a pivotal role in sort of the first half of the season.
Definitely. And of course, with Owsley is that he's the money man who has like all the like accounting worries of like how much money are we putting into this? You know, we're behind here. It's like he's like the most neurotic member of the group. He's just voicing the concerns and everything. And of course,
it's so fun. It's so
he regularly gets a play off of Wesley. Wesley against the calm, cool, collected. The Kingpin's got a plan. We don't say his name.
He's like Voldemort in the show.
And of course, if Leland's the guy who he voices his opinions, but he's smart enough to know, okay, fine, you say it, I won't question it any further. The Russians, not so easily swayed. They're like, we told you truth, you don't believe us? It's just...
must resist making reference.
And just Leland's the guy saying, no, I'm not saying you lied or anything. I'll take your word for it. And he's smart enough to know when to back down. But again, just Wesley's the guy.
You know, he's just a curmudgeony old employee that's been at the company forever.
Exactly.
And he knows when to back down, but he also knows, you know, that he's earned enough respect that he can just kind of speak his mind and bitch sometimes and just get away with it.
Like he's an old man in the organization. He's like, he just loves to have his old man gripes. Like, you younger generation, you don't know what you do. It's all kill, stab. There's no intimidation anymore.
Oh my god.
But then, there's the idea of Wesley also. He's kind of the guy who just pretty much just repeats his orders because he has like all the power behind what the Kingpin just saying to these Russians, just saying, "We're taking care of it. Don't worry." That sort of thing. Is the Russians give him like the dirty eyes all the time.
And of course, we kind of skipped over. Wesley has that great opening, you know, the introduction scene where he's kind of intimidating the one guy who owes money to Rigoletto.
Yes.
And he shows him the video feed of his daughter at college, and you know, and then he's like, "Call your daughter," and then so the guy calls him, and then he's like, "Give us a wave, Mr. Rance." And then we see this really creepy looking guy, you know, waving right at the camera, and then Wesley's like, "No, I'm going to be honest here. I find Mr. Rance's methods very unpleasant."
So it's just the idea, Wesley and just the Kingpin's operation style in general is that he goes real personal. He has there's a real personal touch in his threats. So just showing you
exactly.
Kingpin is a guy you do not mess with, and again, you don't say his name. As we see in episode 3, we're not going to get to it now. But in episode 3, we see the absolute reason you don't say his name.
Oh God, yes.
The idea there's that the way they see it in the Kingpin here, which is truly brilliant. Like they're taking their time. The Kingpin is unseen. He is this ominous voice, and of course the importance of a voice with Daredevil we'll touch on in a moment. Here, it's just just basically Kingpin he believes in no loose ends and no unnecessary killing, which is so intriguing with this villain. It's like, no, we don't have to kill this person. It's more work to clean up. You know, like Karen Page, she's no longer a threat to us. To why. We've discredited her enough, so she's no longer concerned. We don't need to worry about cleanup on another body. We've killed all the important people we need to kill at the end of this, because the end of the guard, unfortunately, he's made to look like he shot himself, and they're allowed hanging. And like Mr. Rance gets killed in prison. He looks like he hung himself in prison.
This is a really crappy jail.
Well, the idea is like Kingpin's so good, like he just has all these.
No, I know what the idea is. I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, a lot of death. And again, there's a question of here's a real interesting question to you, given what we see in episode 3. How many of those guys do you think actually just killed themselves because they worried for their families? How many of them you think actually killed themselves, or how many think were just like no more guards implanted in there?
Right.
That's the terrifying thing.
In terms of going back to Kingpin's cronies, I love that the ending montage where we see kind of like all them in place, like Gao's kind of walking through the heroin operation, and the Russians are kidnapping the kid, and you know, it just kind of really is a kind of a broad stroke of like what we're going to see throughout the season.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, I guess, anything else to talk about with
overall,
those?
with our bad guys arc here, they're really just kind of firmly set up as the most brilliant thing I love most about just the bad guys is the idea that how well they tie into the Avengers. It's the illogical logic of it all. Like, well, if there were superheroes, this would make sense. So they call all this damage from the Avengers happens, and well, like even it's mentioned when Matt Murdock and Paul Nelson are buying their place because the property values have worked in a way to give them that place because everything else has been destroyed by
right, exactly.
what happened in
Yeah.
New York. So it makes sense that how would the mob get all their power? Well, they have construction companies, they rebuild, and they're getting a lot of city contracts and stuff. So it makes sense. I think it's brilliant. That was the best thing I love. The idea I love most. Plus, just how realistically the organized crime is played in the series. Just the idea they have their hands in a lot of elements here, and their big boss is just he's unseen. Because why would you be seen if you're the big target there?
Yeah, like you said, I just think that it establishes itself so well in terms of like the individual players and what their role is, and kind of the larger structure of the of the operation. It's just a really good kind of rogues gallery right out the bat.
And just saying, the incident is what gave them their power. That's the idea, just dumbfounded. Why did no one ever think of this? This is brilliant. That's what would happen. This is the dumbfounded me how brilliant an idea that was. That's when I found that out in this first episode. That was what I loved so much about this first one, is that idea. But we'll get into that.
Oh, sure.
So anyway,
so I think we should move on to
how did this episode dare to be different? How did this episode dare to be different?
Oh yes. Well, I think a good place to start is that the intro of Daredevil is like a human trafficking situation. Like, that's ballsy.
Oh, yeah. And again, so I was really caught off guard because when I first watched this, I didn't know it was going to be – I didn't really pick up on this till episode 3. At first, it was ambiguous if it was going to be TVMA or not. I thought it was just going to be 13 because they didn't really do anything super violent until the 3rd episode.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that's dark and implied here, though.
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah, especially 2 is a really dark implication with the kid next episode. But
oh yeah, oh god, who?
but still, I mean, I just thought it was going to be it was being really mature for PG, like for 13, but it was on TV because I didn't know how the Netflix thing works. This is really the main reason I started watching Netflix because to watch this. So I wasn't sure exactly how it worked, but no, it's completely uncensored TVMA. They got away with anything they want in terms of violence, language, you name, except the F-bomb, really.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Which I'm fine not having in Marvel movies, because I think that would be just even more of a, whoa, this is out of tone.
So to be honest with you, if not for the violence, I'd recommend this even to kids, because it's such a fantastic show. But again,
although, I don't know, man. For the Punisher, I think it's going to be tough for them not to drop F-bombs.
I think just seeing how they pull off in this show, I think they could pull it off. I think it's definitely possible.
We'll see.
I mean, if they do interruptions, I think might be kind of cool. I don't know.
Well, let me put it this way, though. The next villain on The Walking Dead is basically some psycho asshole who, his whole deal is that he swears all the time and curses like a sailor and says, motherfuck this and motherfuck that. And I think that's going to be a very difficult character to translate to TV. But I know how much you love my Walking Dead references, so.
Anyway, so the ratings kind of caught me off guard, especially later on. But I mean, it works fine because it's a really dark subject matter we're tackling. So yeah, you're right. The human trafficking thing was a big thing. It's a realistic crime, though. And I love this. And it's funny every time you hear a story of the human trafficking or something horrible like that going on. It feels so relishing to see the heroes triumph for the bad guys, isn't it?
Oh, of course. That's, yeah.
I think Kevin Smith says that seeing evil punched in the face never gets a little less satisfying. It's so satisfying seeing evil get punched in the face.
I would say another thing that this show did that really gives it a lot of credibility is the way that it approached just the subject of Matt being blind and how it kind of represented that.
Yes, I love how they didn't just copy the movie in terms of how he expressed how he visually sees. And again,
I would have hated that. I mean, I think that worked for the movie. Don't get me wrong. It worked for the movie for the time. I'm just seeing what they did now. It's a big improvement.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I thought it was cool the way they did in that movie. And I wouldn't have been too bothered had they done something similar, really similar to in this. But I love how they approached it very differently. And
it's completely original, yeah.
It is. I'll tell you what I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping that they add more versions of how we might see next season. I'm really hoping they kind of add on to it, maybe spice it up, spice up different ways he sees and just expressing it differently on screen. Maybe I don't know. It's an idea, but I love what they do. I love how they focus more on the auditory in this series. I love that. Really
exactly. I love the heartbeat at the end of the intro.
It's such a great kind of like a way to reach the audience. It's like I love how it's approached like as I watch all these Marvel things with my grandmother a lot of the time. I love that she instantly got it too. Like she hears the heartbeats. Like okay, well she's obviously lying. It's going beep 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 beep, and they express that so well to the audience. And for a moment I was a little worried about it, like, oh man, what if it's going to go over anyone's head? Nope, it translates fine. Because they take their time within just showing how it works. Because he has like 2 really big moments of he's just asking people and he hears the heartbeats.
Exactly. And then there's also a couple quick moments in the fight scenes where he kind of uses that to his advantage as well.
Exactly, and we're going to see later on, like the smell is another huge element which kind of comes through. That's more later on.
Big time, yeah. Okay, any other big moments here? Any other daring moments you can pick out?
Overall, so let's see. Going through a few things here. One, it took its time, which is really this episode took its time, which gave room for very real character dynamics, like the moments here, like again, Foggy talking to Mahoney, and just like Matt and Foggy having such great banter. And again, just they kind of went against conventions of Karen not being just a dumb damsel in distress. She's very engaging, and again, the whole thing's just well cast. Everyone in the series.
She is like arguably like in terms of the plot against Kingpin, she's arguably does more things than Matt himself to bring Kingpin down.
Yeah, she is very important.
Like she is so involved with it.
But again, it makes me think she's not a plot. I don't think exactly she's pilotitis. Again, I'm thinking that she really is.
No. I know. I definitely think. I don't know. It was just kind of my initial reaction without having seen any of the other stuff that they did with her. So you understand, just on its own, it kind of turned me off a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So again, they're really kind of going just those moments to breathe and just kind of explore the universe. Just when they took their time with that. So this is the idea of one of the cops. Again, I forget. I think it's Hoffman, whichever one. I forget the other guy's name, but to me, I remember Hoffman because it's another kind of funny Better Call Saul reference in a way. Because it's, in Better Call Saul, it's Hoffman and Fensky, and here it's Hoffman and something.
Oh.
And anyway, so the point is, I like you just a little moment with Hoffman just saying, I don't care if you were, I'll kick.
That's again a very kind of realistic sort of confrontation. You know what I mean?
So again, they take their time with those realistic moments, and like the little moments, little pauses, just little moments of reality breathing in there. That's what I really was impressed by this episode. And a lot of shows will stretch kind of the reality, and you'll get moments of this if you. Not the third too many shows under the buses with this segment here, but just like a show like Arrow, they'll stretch.
I would gladly throw Lost under the bus.
No.
Here, Lost, go under the bus.
But I mean, like a show like Arrow or something, where they just kind of stretch their believability, not just with.
I would even say Breaking Bad, as good as it was, definitely had 1 or 2 moments that were like that. As good as it was.
The big thing with Arrow is the character dynamics get unbelievable at times. It's like such a CW thing of oh my god, this is like stupid drama right now. This is
which is why I'm probably never going to watch a CW show. I mean, I've heard The Flash is good, but
The Flash is good.
Yeah.
It's just they don't know how to write they don't know how to write the main lead female character.
Yeah, exactly. That's their problem. I keep hearing all this shit about this Laurel character. And
yeah,
I'm
seriously.
Like, oh, God.
Laurel and Iris are the big problems of both those shows. But anyway, point is, you see what I mean, though? It's there's a lot of forced drama sometimes in those shows, and here, there's no forced drama. You want to see each of these characters, they could have their own episodes, which you see.
Right.
Next episode kind of was the case.
Yeah. In the spoiler cast that Geekvolution did, they talked a lot about how this episode and just kind of the series in general feels a lot like just real people reacting naturally to situations, and that's how the plot unfolds.
Yeah, and again, I love Foggy.
And it's not like a contrived plot that's kind of weaved around the character interactions. Age of Ultron. Just saying.
But
just saying.
I think Foggy and Foggy, Wesley, and Leland probably the best examples. There's kind of those realistic, like this, the guy's breathing the realism for the show, you know, like, well, Wesley is the best at is one of the best guys at his job. So he's pretty like, well, I'm not crazy.
Sure, but even someone like Karen, like, you know, she is a very kind of reactionary character, you know what I mean? And one of her big sort of character flaws that leads to a lot of stuff that I won't get into right now.
Remember, she has her Gus Fring moment in this episode.
Right.
I mean, her Gus Fring moment is horrifying. Or she's just like, she's getting arrested. That's a realistic moment. It's just like that whole like, I didn't. What else would you say if you're being arrested? You just woke up to the surgeon. He's like, no, I didn't do this. Like,
it's a hell of a way to introduce her. Yeah, for sure.
And again, it's so traumatizing. She's being arrested. She's got blood in her hands. She's waking up in this horrified state, and then just wakes up pretty much the instant she wakes up with a knife in her hand, blood all around, and people burst in. And then she's like, she's being arrested. She's looking at the dead guy that she knows straight in the eyes.
right.
In her own apartment.
Okay, any other dare to be different things
to
go over?
Yeah, so there's a great atmosphere set up here, and just with the settings, and of course with the action. You know, again, we kind of touched on the atmosphere of like it's kind of like this, kind of like the dark side of the Marvel universe, definitely, and of course with the atmosphere, it feels really city-based. Like every block feels like we are in a part of the city.
Well, that's what I love, man, because Hell's Kitchen is like 5 blocks in the real New York, and we feel that. We feel how limited the whole setting is. You know what I mean? Yeah. This isn't some sprawling. Like, we know we're not in the heart of like New York City, you know, and the Daily Bugle's not going to be like right around the corner. You know, this is a very kind of confined part of a much larger whole.
Where again, next episode we really get to see like how kind of local everything is with Foggy knowing everybody in town.
Exactly. I love the way they do that. They make you care so much for like this, you know, these few city blocks that make up Hell's Kitchen.
I love our settings too. Just like, you know, we have like the not the apartment, but you know it is kind of an apartment, but you know the office, the Nelson and Murdoch office. Mm-hmm. We got just kind of the random kind of parking garage meeting places for the for the cabal, and of course like
at least they don't meet in warehouses.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm saying to you. Like, they don't just make it seriously. They don't make it just warehouse. Like, they go to their action set pieces are really clever. You know, where you go to Karen's apartment.
I'm sure there's a warehouse in this. There's a warehouse or two in the show if I look for it. I'm sure there is, but
of course,
it's not a cliche like it was on Gotham.
Well, it's just Batman in general, though.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean, though. It's like, well, so we like our set piece too. Like you said, we're in the hallway for action sequences, and we're all over the place for like, of course, the shipping containers. I mean, just in the beginning of the episode, I love that setting. I mean, it makes sense because first of all, it's such a great location because you have all these clanging metal things, so Matt can know where he's going. You know, like you hear all the reverberations and everything. And of course, it's that great bit it's not a billy club because you're gonna get those later on, but he throws something like knock Turk in the face, and it suddenly bounces off everything. It's such a great set.
And also, I think that moment where he's kind of like running on top of the shipping crates, is kind of a good reflection on when he's eventually going to try to be running over the rooftops.
Of course.
Yeah.
And also, of course, the action. We should probably just briefly address the action overall. How great is the action in this show?
Well, I mean, we'll get to episode 2.
No. But still, it feels very kinetic. Like, there were some great bits, just to highlight 2 bits, particularly in that opening shipping container fight. I love it when he just Turk is like firing the gun and like he hears like it click and everything. You see him like flip over the bullet and like land on him and just knock him out. Mm-hmm. And you also get these moments, especially at the end of the episode, where after he's taken down the bag, he's like hung him up by the chain and everything, and he hears like the beating of the metal on the chain. They know that it's there, and they use it against the guy. I love the moment where after he flips to knock the guy out, because he's so exhausted, he lands on his back. He's just like breathing in as the rain's falling on him.
Oh, there's a lot of great moments of him where he just kind of has to take a breather for a second, and that is like the highlight of the action.
It's like the guy's like he's like hanging upside down, like to knock him out. There's like another like final punch, but they has to like throw the oomph in him. He's just on the ground, and like taking a break. So it makes it Daredevil is like one of those fantastic heroes you get to see. Yeah, he's getting tired because he's beating the
it kind of reminds me of the way they present Indiana Jones action. You know what I mean? Because Indiana Jones is a guy who gets the shit kicked out of him.
Exactly. You know, you have those moments like Marion's like patching him up like after the battle,
Right. So I love that, and I do think it's a nice contrast to MCU, where, frankly, you know, especially with Avengers and stuff like that, it's like these characters, for the most part,
Cap
Silver notwithstanding, are pretty much not in danger.
You know, Cap gets hurt a lot, and Cap is kind of the one who may or may not.
But Cap is a super soldier!
Yeah, but he's actually Mary's kind of the one doomed to die, technically.
Doomed to die if you want to speculate about like, oh, he died in the comic book, so maybe he'll die in the.
I'm saying that because Chris Evans kind of made it ambiguous if he was coming back or not, but now it sounds like he's coming back, so it should be fine. But again, if he's not coming back, it's the ultimate way to kill him off. So he's kind of one. Anyway,
at this point, I would be surprised, but I would think it would be very ballsy if they killed him off and, you know, maybe made Sam Wilson the new Captain America.
Well, they've done that in the comics, but I mean, usually it would probably go into Bucky first, because that's usually goes. And that'd be kind of a cool, because he signed on for like 9 movies.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, anyway, he does have a giant contract.
Point is, again, Chris Evans sounds like might be coming back. We're not going to get into the point. Is like you do see Cap get the crap like shot out of him and everything in Winter Soldier. The point is like these guys do get in danger, but more so, you're right though. Aside from Captain America,
and like you got Iron Man, who's just got the invincible suit. You know, the Hulk is obviously super duper strong.
Captain America's the only one
who's obviously a freaking god. You know.
Again, so yeah, Cap's the only one we've really seen taking a beating, and he usually kind of walks away from that usually. And there's
exactly.
Daredevil though, he's really taking the beating, especially next episode. Oh my god, next episode.
Oh, we'll get to it. Oh my god, we'll get to it. I'm excited.
2 and I think 7. I want to say it's 7. It's either 7 or 9.
7 is stick.
Okay, it's not. Wait, no, it's not 7. It must be 9.
Okay.
Like 7 and I think 9 is when he.
Oh, 9! Oh my god, yes, 9. You're thinking of 9. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the end of. You know what I mean? Like the end of 9.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He gets really bad in those episodes.
And it's not even like a cliche superhero thing where it's like, oh no, the villain's getting beat up, you know, or the hero's getting beat up. It's more like, holy crap, man! Like, dude, like this guy could seriously get like really, really hurt. And I like how there's definitely like pauses in between when he's Daredevil, when he's healing up. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course. And maybe another element to talk about is with the flashbacks are so wisely kind of integrated into this show, because other shows they don't. Sometimes they lose sight of how to do the flashbacks properly. Sometimes they try to make a beast.
Lost.
Arrow season 3.
Yes.
Usually Arrow is good with the flashbacks. Season 3, they
I've heard from Jeremy Johns.
Season 3, usually they try to make it like the Beast story. Usually it works. This season didn't work at all. It's just the point is they're using the flashbacks wisely as kind of like when he's taking these breathers after these beatings. He has. Like,
I could go on a 10-minute rant about how they misused the flashbacks on Lost in the final season, but I won't do that.
Yeah, the point is, like, you know, they're kind of tackling on in the flashbacks so far in this first episode. You know, they touched on points of the origins key points, but they're not retreading too much over stuff the movie has covered or stuff that we've seen before. Daredevil, you know.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the flashbacks are very much kind of in the style of how Better Call Saul handled the flashbacks.
Kind of, yeah, but more so later on. But yeah, definitely.
I guess I'm thinking mostly of 5-0 in terms of that example, but I'm also thinking about like
the foggy,
the cold open flashbacks that we will get that we kind of like slowly kind of peel back. You know, like elements of Chuck and Jimmy's relationship and stuff like that.
I mean, the forming of the law, like the whole Foggy and Matt flashback episode, that's definitely the best use of the flashback in Better Call Saul type style.
Exactly, yeah.
But, you know, like more so later on. Here, the thing was he was decent, kind of giving us the key points without just spoon-feeding us the whole origin again. It was like giving us
that is so smart, for sure.
It just gave it just what you needed.
Because they could have just very easily had, like, episode 1 and 2 be, like, one big just origin exposition dump there. Okay, status quo.
And just as I mentioned again, with taking their time, they're building a great reveal for the Kingpin, which I do appreciate so much. It was originally they wanted, real quick, Netflix, not Netflix, the guys at Marvel. Originally, they were thinking they were going to have to introduce Kingpin a lot earlier, but because they got Netflix, they were working with Netflix. They realized they could take their time with introducing and build it up.
There's definitely like so much to talk about with Kingpin when we get there. But
of course, but still, I love that. He's like, it's like Jaws. They had like the perfect build to him. You don't
yes, it is, and it's like we're hearing about him. We know he's going to show up. We just don't know exactly when.
Yeah, and of course we mentioned like how hearing is kind of utilized as part of the senses instead of like the way you've seen it before. So that's great. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, that's all I really got for the where it dared to be different. Should we go to our next element?
Yes, let's go to the. Hold on, let me get a prop. Let's go to the blinding moment of awesome.
Yeah. You go first.
Okay, my blinding moment of awesome, just the our favorite moment of the episode is, as we were talking about with the flashbacks. I love the moment during the final fight in Karen's apartment where Daredevil's taking on the guy. This guy is he's the same guy that we saw in Wesley's video feed.
Yeah,
right?
Mr. Rance. Yeah, Rance is the last.
Okay,
the last guy fights is Rance.
And so he's taking on the guy, and it's like they're fighting. It's all brutal. And then he gets kicked out of a window, or thrown, or whatever.
They both get thrown out of Karen's window.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now they onto like the fire escape, and like I think Matt like hits his back, then he falls on the ground or something.
Right. And then there's this great moment where Matt's just laying on the ground, and he's just like, we think for a second like, oh my God, is he knocked out? But then we get to this flashback, and this is like I think this is probably the most genuine flashback of him and his father, this one scene. I mean, there's some great stuff in the second episode too, but basically what we see is Matt's studying for homework. He's studying, he's up late, he's kind of tired. The father walks in, and the father's like, well, you got to study, Matt, because you don't want to end up like me. Oh, yeah. And then the most beautiful thing happens, and I forget, is this in the movie?
Well, I mean, the whole dynamic is kind of in the. Well, in the movie, Jack Murdoch's big character defining things like he doesn't want Matt to become a fighter like him, and he tells him, Matt, don't become a fighter, don't do that.
But I'm talking specifically about how he, because I seem to remember a scene very similar to this in the movie where he has Matt touch his face.
Well, I mean, he might be like when he's in the bed, he tells him like, see like this, but I could be missing.
Right, okay, but like everything else in this show, it's done so much better than in the movie, and you feel everything in that father and son bond, and it kind of goes on to just define Daredevil. It's like he's a guy who can take a beating, but he's gonna stand up, he's gonna get up. And then after that, how do you pay that off? The most magnificent way possible, by having Daredevil, blood going out of his lips, and the iconic shot that we get from the trailer, and we have him just rise up, just slowly rise up, just like Jack Murdoch. And I love it. I love
how it's raining in that fight, too. It looks so beautiful.
Right. Oh, man. And that little trickle of blood, the little trickle of red. Oh, good use of color. Great scene. Fantastic scene.
I love how they're seeding in the red from the beginning, though, with this guy.
Of course.
It's the idea when Daredevil has red before he has the red costume, a lot of time it's blood because he's getting hurt a lot.
That makes sense.
Okay, let's see. Really, we've kind of talked about it before, so I'll keep it brief. But in general, the Cabal stuff in general, but more so specifically what I really love most, my blinding moment of awesome, aside from just those guys and just the idea of like tying into the Avengers like the way they did, was I love the ending. We touched on it a bit. I love just that how it's so greatly intercut, the ending of as Matt is boxing in the Fogwell gym. We see kind of these again. This is like piloting in the best possible way. This is like kind of your ultimate setup ending. Of like,
it's kind of like, okay, here's these characters and here's what they're doing.
This to me is like kind of the ultimate setup for the series, in a nutshell. Like I think it's just a brilliant sequence. They have like a blind man punching a bag in a gym versus all these big criminal operations that are like in route. Basically, it's like the ultimate little guy versus it's like, little guy going up against the big leagues type moment of like, we see all these operations like Jao with their drug empire, Turk getting guns, and he's back out on the streets again. A guy in the match's foil, he's back on the streets and everything.
Oh yeah.
Just the idea he's really like going. It's an uphill battle in most. Just the idea he's just boxing, getting ready for it. He's like kind of like his father. He's not getting knocked down. He keeps on going. He's just getting ready for what's coming. Like the adventure. It's like an adventure continues type. And of course, the big thing ended on. It's kind of nicely how it kind of has fit into everything so far, especially next episodes that we saw in the flashbacks. Young kid Matt and his father, and of course, the end of this episode is a kid and his father, and the father's getting the crap beat out of him. So kind of the opposite of Jack Murdoch. He's literally getting the crap. Well, not the opposite of Jack Murdoch. Just getting the little crap beat out of him, and it's so horrifying too. The Russians, just how callous they are, doing like the one, like I think it's Anatoly or someone, like walks up to the kid who looks horrified in the car, just watching his father get beaten up. He gets taken, Daddy. He says, no, not my son.
That daddy thing is going to come back big time next episode.
Oh, it is. And so then he's like put in the van and driven off, and like Daredevil's like looking up again. He's just boxing, boxing for the future, all the worries for the future to come, like going into this. And it's that great shot.
I love how it cuts between his punches and then like all the other stuff going on. Oh yeah, man, it's
that's
so
what
dramatic.
I'm saying. Just like seeing all these things simultaneously, all the stuff he's up against, like all the crime that's going on in Hell's Kitchen that Daredevil needs to clean up. Just the last shot of like him on top of the roof, like he's perceiving all of this, hearing all of this stuff, and with the mask up, and he just hears the daddy, and he's like he hears like the kid yelling. It's so horrifying. Of course, how it pays off because this gets called back a few times of him hearing screams of terror and panic, and that's just signaling to him, I gotta act now. Just hearing this kid, and he's looking off to the side, like, oh man, kid yelling, daddy, it's not good. And he pulls the mask down. That's the end of the episode. Oh, I love that. So cool. Right. I was thinking this is a brilliant way to kind of set up the series, like the adventures are about to continue and how it's going to connect in the next episode. Big time.
Oh yeah.
So let's
go through the Braille Trail, where we kind of pick up the breadcrumbs that are going to lead to stuff down the line.
So, like, one thing, we got some bits of Matt's origin, which we've seen set up here, which are going to play in big time to next episode. And, of course, throughout when we meet characters like Stick, seeing how Matt's kind of formation to Daredevil pays off.
I already mentioned some stuff. I mentioned how Foggy, is kind of an asshole to Karen at first. I think that's going to really come full circle.
What a funny one.
And also Matt kind of intentionally being... coming off as more handicapped than he really is in front of Foggy. That's something that I very much caught on my rewatch.
I love the Ben Urich reference, and of course Ben Urich will be. It's kind of nicely set up how the flash drive's given to him with Union Ally. And of course, Union Ally will be Ben Urich's kind of big story through the season.
Sure.
We see we mentioned teases of Kingpin, of course, like hearing the voice of the engine saying, "No, leave the girl. We don't need to." She's just keep tabs on the lawyers.
I feel like all the stuff about Reconstruction is definitely foreshadowing to the character stuff that we get with Elena later on.
Yes. That you're right, Tiggy. That is.
You're Foggy. Foggy.
Mijo.
Oh God, they are like the same character. Oh Jesus.
No, but seriously, there is actually a clever setup there because they mentioned we do see this with Nobu a little bit towards the end. That
Foggy spilled the eel drink. He has to get the club soda.
No, but seriously, it's mentioned by I believe if it's not Zhao, it's somebody who says. They still have designs on the neighborhood for the construction jobs ahead, which is a reference to bulldozing the apartments, which also, I believe, it's tied to the same thing. Nobu, at the end of the episode, and that also kind of cut between all the different plots afoot. We see Nobu has these blueprints there with these Japanese writing on them. The idea, and this is set up for season 2, so something might pay off in season 2.
Okay.
In the comics, the Hand has designs for parts of New York. It's called the Shadowland. They take over basically the ninja organization known as the Hand, which let's just say Nobu has ties to. Let's just say that much.
I think he's a ninja or something.
The point is, like in Hell's Kitchen, the hand takes over the. I believe whatever they're going to bulldoze is going to make room for the hand. So whether Nobu had this on the side of whatever they were going to build of his own designs, or as like part of the grand design of like the hand will have sections of Hell's Kitchen under their control, so they use unleash agents to take full control of the place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea. It's most likely going to be paid off in season 2. Just elements of. Of rebuilding, which again we see a little bit of in 6 when those I believe those specific buildings get meet their ends.
Indeed. Okay, so a couple things that Karen said I felt were pretty prophetic during the conversation where she's trying to kind of explain more of the details to Matt. She's she's kind of explaining how she was kind of caught off guard by how they how they knew about her and Danny and going for the drinks and everything, and then she says they must have people everywhere, and it's like, yes, Karen, yes they do. You're absolutely right about that, and that is one of the most terrifying things about the Kingpin.
I felt real bad.
And then also very much on the nose as Daredevil's walking off, from that awesome fight at the end. She's like, you can't trust anyone. Again, good job, Karen. Very observant.
Yes. And also, I felt bad for the Rigoletto guard, by the way, like the guy who was like blackmailed with his daughter being threatened. Because first of all, that does connect thematically to Jack Murdoch.
True.
Jack Murdoch being bullied into doing stuff he doesn't want to, but for the safety of his child, and it's so hurtful. Like, she just wanted to do laundry with her father, and she couldn't do that because he was killed. That's so sad. And again, also. The guy, he didn't want to kill Karen, but he had to pay his debts off. And this is a horrifying thing. Like, she clawed half of his face up, too. That's like an actual self-defense.
Oh, God, yeah. She freaking goes all out, like, gouged the eyes out. Yeah.
The girls in self-defense class, they are, just in self-defense class in general, I should say, it's like, the eyes and the groin. Those are the 2 target points.
Okay, I was going to mention that. Yeah, I actually was, like, because I had some asthma issues in high school, so I couldn't get into a regular PE class. So instead I took cross-training, which had a self-defense section, and yes, rule number 1, and I'm not even joking, rule number 1, gouge the eyes out.
Yes, yeah. Like, I remember there was a bit, just because it does kind of tie into Frank Miller and Daredevil by proxy, but in Dark Knight Returns, when Carrie Kelly, the Robin in that book, she saves Batman at one point. She does the self-defense class move of going for the eyes and save Batman, like against the bad guys. So little thing there. It's like a moment of like, yeah, that's what the girls at her age would be trained to do. Yeah, go for the eyes.
Exactly.
It's like an ouch moment too.
No kidding.
Here's something thematic I really loved, by the way.
Okay.
I love the idea. Just rewatching this kind of got me thinking about this. The first time we hear the hint of Kingpin, because we don't say his name. We hear Kingpin's voice, and of course Matt's big thing is he hears more so than the way it's been sold to us. He hears a lot, and of course that's how his relationship with Kingpin starts. He hears about the guy. He hears him specifically. It's all about hearing the Kingpin. And just the idea of hearing the truth, and of course the truth just kind of like Kingpin's like he's more than a big thing with Kingpin in terms of Daredevil seeking truth is that Kingpin is all about the truth. He's saying, well, I will tell you the truth. I won't lie to you. It's going to be a huge thing with this character. Again, the guy who's more than willing to tell the truth, even though he'll conceal the big things, but he'll tell the truth to the people who ask him directly.
Oh yeah, and that's especially big with with Vanessa, for sure.
Oh my god, I'd love Vanessa. We're gonna get to her. But you see what I mean? There's the idea we hear.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If Matt's all about hearing the voices, and the big voice is gonna hear periodically is the Kingpin, who's just introduced through that means. Like these two guys kind of fated to be locked in internal combat with each other, almost. Really, really cool. And again, the value of truth I've just kind of touched on. It's going to be a huge thing through the series. Like as Karen said, you can't trust anyone. And we see, there are a lot of corrupt cops, a lot of corrupt politicians, a lot of corrupt people within the news industry. So it's corruption all around them. And Hell's Kitchen has gone to its namesake because of the events that happened in New York. Just this rebuilding has just given root to all this kind of this evil mold that is spread all around the place.
I like how it's kind of like there's a bit of realism to it as well, because Hell's Kitchen nowadays is actually very cleaned up and nice looking, So it's realistic that, they could just easily kind of ignore that fact and be like, oh yeah, Hell's Kitchen is still shitty. But no, they specifically make it have the Battle of New York is the reason why it's shitty again.
Now, there's actually a really good foreshadow line in this, rewatching it.
Okay.
Sorry, dude, I think you're out of sync or something. It looks like you're really...
What?
You were out of sync for a moment there, and you kind of frozen, so I just let you know that.
Is it back?
I mean, you're just really out of sync right now.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway,
should I turn my camera off?
I don't know. Keep talking.
Should I refresh?
Maybe try refreshing.
Okay, I'll try refreshing. You go through some more stuff.
Right. So something really cool we see is that in the end there's that as Kingman's talking to Wesley, he brings up she was the Karen Page's interrupt that they couldn't get their people to talk to Karen Page, kind of most likely offer a payout or something to get her under control so they wouldn't have to kill her or anything, and that was interrupted by the lawyers coming in there. So the idea is like Hoffman and the other guy, Hoffman and the other cop, they were the ones who were again, spoilers, but there's a lot of spoilers in this. Hoffman and the other cop were going to corrupt her and offer her a deal had they not been interrupted by, my lawyers, basically it says, well, you can't talk to our client yet. Had that moment not happened, then those two might have gotten to Karen, and we might not have had Karen going to Murdoch and Nelson Murdoch. Yeah. And of course, also we see the Russians have a lot of discontent with the Kingpin's operations. That's going to come in really big time.
Okay, I think it's fine now. Hopefully.
Well. You still kind of say it's fine. We're wrapping up soon. The last thing I got to mention, unless you got anything else.
I get. Let's see. There's. Did you mention? I
mentioned.
Of course, Kingpin kind of writing off Karen is a big deal.
Yeah. So with that, let me just tell you this, as I told the people this. I mentioned that Hoffman and the other cop, they were the foreshadow is that those two guys were supposed to talk to Karen, kind of schmooze her over, threaten her and stuff, but they didn't get a chance to because Nelson and Murdoch swooped in to save her.
Oh, okay. That's true. That's
Wesley said, our people didn't get to talk to her because the lawyers swooped in. The idea was those two guys might have been the people. I could be assuming that.
Really quickly, there's a line between Karen and Matt where at the very end where Matt's like, well, you told the truth. What can I say? And then Karen's like, yeah, but you listened. And that, again, is going to kind of define their relationship going forward.
And he did listen.
A lot of respect based off of that.
Yeah. Speaking of Karen, real quick, there was a nice little kind of mention to the whole Betty Veronica type thing of she said, my mother taught me how to make, remember she's cooking for him at the end there, when we get that great sign that you'll notice is on Tiki's left?
That you can't read at all. I'll probably have a better one soon, hopefully.
Take our word for it. It's there.
It's definitely there.
She cooks some dish of some kind. She says, "Well, my mother told me to make this for the man I marry," and they all look to each other. It's full of virtue. Yeah, I smell the virtue in there.
Potential foreshadowing.
Yeah, the idea there maybe being I'm not saying marriage precisely, but maybe the whole who's she gonna end up with type little tease of
right. Maybe kind of the equivalent to Thompson versus Sousa.
Yeah, a bit of that. However, I think it's still clenched for Sousa, though, but we're not going to get into that now.
But I'm still Team Thompson. I really like the relationship they had in episode, what was it, 6 with the Howling Commandos.
You got anything else for I think it might be 5, actually. I don't know. You got
whatever. No, I'm done.
Okay, well, I think we've done some good kind of trail blazing for a Braille trail.
Indeed.
So I guess it's time to get to our final segment here, the Nelson and Murdoch verdict.
Yes.
So
all right. So, just overall thoughts. Like I said, this is definitely a show that just gets better and better as it goes along. There's definitely going to be some highlight stuff coming out of episode 2, episode 3, episode 4. But I really feel like this show hits a stride right around episode 7. So, but overall, final thoughts for this episode. It's definitely a good setup, and especially watching it back, I can already tell this is going to be a perfect series to kind of rewatch, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. For the record, folks, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I actually did just got done watching this, like, literally yesterday. And how long did it take you to finish Blue Dragon 5?
Probably. I was watching with someone, so it probably took like 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks. Okay.
But I watched in chunks though. But otherwise, I would have watched it. And had I just been alone, I would have watched it in one.
I mean, my whole thing is that I wanted to really savor it. You know what I mean? So like, especially after. So let's see. I watched episode 1, and then I marathoned episodes.
Well, when I say weeks, I mean like 3 days, but like over 3 weeks. So it's like, you know.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So it's like, you know, like 3 days, but spread over 3 weeks. So.
I hear you. Right. But I'm just saying, like, I would take these breaks. You know, like I definitely broke after the Kingpin flashback episode because I was just like, okay, I just need to sit on this for a while. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just need to let all of this shit just simmer in my mind a little bit. But anyways, yeah, you know, I definitely think it's a more strong episode, kind of with the context of the rest of the series in place. But I do think it's a good start, indeed.
Oh yeah. So we specifying in this episode, in the grand scheme, of course, series is fantastic. What's the big surprise there?
Of course.
For this episode in particular, I thought it was a really solid intro. Again, I think it has some great banter, a lot of good ideas, and a lot of great setup. Again, particularly like the ideas dumbfounded me how we'd never thought of this before, of there being damage control for the incident. You know, for the invasion, of course, just the Cabal dynamic is fantastic. Building the Kingpin, a lot of really great ideas. You know, a lot of great banner. It feels distinctly Daredevil, because this is the kind of preface of the whole series. Like in general, what I like about Daredevil, I like the. Again, I'm not like a huge Daredevil guy, but I do like the specific Daredevil I have read. I really like it. Like Mark Waid recently, I haven't read all of his stuff, but I read some of it. He kind of embodies what I like most about Daredevil, and I love the classic Stan Lee stuff from Daredevil. It's the idea of just like a lawyer who only takes on honest clients. Like when he can't get justice for him in the courtroom, he gets justice for him out of the courtroom, which is in a nutshell is what I love about Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And that's when you do that in the movie, and just with the character and period, I love that. And people sometimes skew more towards the darker Mark Waid. He has a great balance of dark, but also the grand kind of gleaming kind of Stan Lee. It's like he's a Daredevil because he does all these fantastic stunts and action stuff, which this show really embodies really well. It has the fun, has the action, has the comedy, has the wow factor, but also has the darkness of the Miller stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a great balance of all the stuff I like most about Daredevil, and this is a great kind of intro into that. So when I watched it, I was like, why did I like, man, this is everything I love about Daredevil. This first episode, I gotta keep watching this. Which, so Into the Ring was definitely like appropriate time, because we all just want to jump in the ring with this show and just celebrate every moment we're there with it.
Sure. Well said. All right, and with that, we will see you guys later for episode 2. Episode 2 is entitled Cut Man. Yeah. And in the meantime, that's all for now. Until our let me start again. That's all for now until our next daring installment of Discerning Daredevil. Excelsior.
Enough said.
All right.